Sound and plebs, we're really out here, and yeah, it's been a good week or something since I uploaded a video. So I've been really sick, like really ill. Haven't been this ill as since I was like a kid or something. So I just took it easy, played a lot of Overwatch, sat around in my onesie and didn't do anything for a week. And it was good. I enjoyed it when I was not like dying like in bed. But yeah, anyway, so we're back out here and we're at the final straight, I guess, of like 5 days to nationals. Really, it's finally here. I guess most of the how should you say play testing should be out of the way by now. Not really play testing, play learning, I guess would be the better term. Because this is the topic of my video. I'm going to be differentiating between what it means to play test a deck, which a lot of people I feel don't do correctly or misconstrue with learning a deck. Now, the thing I found is that people will be like, oh, you know, let's gather around at locals on X day, let's play test our decks, whatever, and it's like, a lot of people aren't actually play testing when they sit down to duel each other and prepare for an event. What you'll notice is that a lot of people care more about winning duels rather than actually testing games. Now, what do I mean by that? So, first and foremost, like, going backwards a little bit, when we look at like learning a deck and how this differentiates from playtesting. Now let's say I pick up Monarchs for the first time ever. Learning the deck would be playing just, you know, regular games like shuffling up, drawing 5, drawing 6 for turn or whatever, playing the game out. That's like, you know, learning the deck. You know, you can probably aid that a little bit by playing with your cards face up and talking to your opponent and saying like, oh well, in this situation I would probably like, you know, do this thing, and then maybe you would do this thing, and then I would have to play around this thing, and I would have to assume you'd had this thing, etc, etc. That's kind of more playtesting, but to help like the learning process, it might be better to play face up with friends and explain to each other how, like, you know, to deal with certain intricacies in certain matchups. You know, some matchups you'd maybe have to like play around certain traps. Against Monarchs you might have to play around, you know, the Aether in the hand, and you'll have to best figure out the best way to do that. Especially in the mirror match as well, you both are going to have to be like talking to each other a lot and communicating exactly how the best way to play like your hands out would be in those given situations. But the entire purpose of like play learning, I guess you could call it, is to actually learn these procedures and like understand and like learn like what it is you're doing at any given point in time in each turn throughout a duel against certain decks. Now that doesn't really necessitate you playtesting your builds and techs, which a lot of people think they're doing when they playtest, which brings me on to my next point, playtesting. Let's say, for example, you know, the best example I can think of is like playtesting with mass change in Burning Abyss, PK Fire, when that thing first became like really big. So we're testing out mass change second, and a lot of people were like, you know, that I know personally, one particular person, you know, what I did, for example, on Dueling Network, I was testing. I simply shuffled away my hand on Dueling Network, added mass change to my hand, and then drew four random cards. And my friend's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like that? You can't do that. That's cheating and stuff." And it's like, yeah, but I'm testing my tech card. Like that's the whole purpose of the testing process, is to like see how good it is, you know. So you draw your mass change in your Burning Abyss PK Fire deck. Start with your tech card, draw like 4 new cards, and then continue the duel from there. Now that's, you know, kind of what a lot of people like really don't kind of get when it comes to the testing process. A lot of people are just playing against their friends at like locals, you know, for fun. It's like they're trying to win duels, when it's like that's not what testing is about. You're not trying to win duels. You're trying to actually understand how your card works in certain environments against certain other things. Another good example of how you should be playtesting is, for example, let's say you start with like a 6-card random hand, you play out your turn, and then next turn, instead of drawing a random card, add that tech card to your hand and see what it would be like in that situation if you don't open it. See what that card is like drawing it for turn, like outside of turn 1. See what it's like as a top deck. Sorry, my voice isn't still 100%. But these are all different things that you can do to like help you playtest. Now it's something I probably want to like elaborate on more in a future video and do a bit of a guide on. This is obviously, a lot of it is inspired by Patrick Hogan's book. and he does bring up a lot of points of how people just waste a lot of time with playtesting. Like, so much of the time, you know, let's say for example I have 5 days now to nationals, like about, let's say I put in like 40 hours over the next 5 days of pure Yu-Gi-Oh! It's very possible that some players would waste about 30 hours of those 40 with wasteful, like, nothingness. Like, they're just playing games and, you know, going back and forth and dueling each other with blind hands of, like, drawing 5 and not really testing anything. You're not learning anything. That, like, you're learning the deck, you're learning your matchups, sure, that's helping your technical play, but in terms of in terms of deck building, this isn't doing. I'm really sorry. I think it's like hay fever or something, I don't know. But in terms of actually learning your deck's build and its techs, you're not learning anything by just playing random games. Like I said, you have to do some of the things I mentioned before, which is like just open with the card, even setting up game states. So for example, one thing we did recently was let combos go off for Cosmo. So let Cosmo with the Fire King Island build open up with a Dart Destroyer and 2 field spells, or maybe like, so that's a little bit extreme, but just like any, like, or not any, but like Fire King Island, a ship, and like 3 random cards. And normally you'd be able to end with something like Infinity Lady. So just let them open up with a certain game state and then play your deck and test and see how your deck goes against it. So we did that a couple of times where my friend would like draw a random hand into the same field, like the exact same board. I wouldn't even like reshuffle, draw, because it's just a waste of time. Like, there's no point in shuffling away, doing the combo again. Just keep the board the same. You know, and my friend just drew a new hand and played through it and see how often he'd be able to like play through a comboed off board of Cosmo. And then my play testing after that was to see just exactly how Fire King Cosmo was able to return from that kind of situation. Let's say I get Stormthrower Rebus, everything gets baited out, etc, etc. Do I have a follow-up if my board gets broken? So these are all, you know, like I said, different ways to test. These are all different ways that you can not waste time when it comes to playtesting for a major event. So if you've watched this far, give me hashtag dying Nadir in the comment section down below. So if you've watched this far, hashtag dying Nadir, and I'd like to know how you guys playtest, what kind of things that you guys like do and test and try out, and what your kind of methodology is to learning decks and playing new tech cards and stuff like that. So let me know what you think down below. Thanks as always for watching. Again, apologies for the lack of content, but hopefully now that I'm a lot better than I was, there should be more to come. So thank you and see you next time.
Come, face me, give in to your pride, show me your